Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to this press conference with, to my left, the IOC President Kirsty Coventry, and also with Christophe Duby, Olympic Games Executive Director. Just a quick couple of announcements and news. We've just had the Executive Board. Pau Gasol has been elected as Chair of the Athletes Commission, and the position on the EB has been proposed for approval by the session on Sunday. The two athletes representatives, Won Young Jong from South Korea and Johanna Taleham from Estonia, will be also proposed to the session for IOC membership. Further, it was also agreed that at the closing ceremony, the AIN athletes, as in Paris, will be able to take part as individuals. As you know, the closing ceremony is for individuals, not for teams. As you would expect, we also approved a number of Olympic orders and various other distinctions. So there was a brief EB for that this morning, and the session, as I say, will be on Sunday. So without further ado, let me pass over to the IOC President.
Thank you, Mark, and hi to everybody. I hope that you're having a good couple of weeks and have managed to get out into these incredible venues and watch and experience the amazing atmosphere that Milano-Cortina team have created for every single one of us. I have had the honor and privilege of traveling around in a beautiful Italian country and gotten to spend some time with athletes in all of the villages and get to watch some magnificent performances around. And yeah, I don't think you can be leaving these games not being inspired by what we're seeing on the field of play. So I really want to thank the Milano-Cortina team across all the venues and all the villages. Really, it's been amazing, and to all the volunteers working in all these areas, thank you. You guys have had huge smiles and huge welcomes wherever we've gone, and it's been, again, really magnificent. The atmosphere and the hospitality around all of the venues and the spectators has also been really incredible. At the biathlon venue with 20,000 spectators, just amazing. Yeah, those athletes had so much energy to lean off of and cheer from, so that was really awesome. Spent the last couple of days up in the mountains in the snow. It felt like a true winter Olympic Games, really. It was quite magnificent, although the drive back maybe not so magnificent. Took a little longer than expected in the snowstorm yesterday, but really it was fabulous, and got to witness ski mountaineering make their debut in the Olympic Games this year, and it was, yeah, I was trying to figure out if it was like a 200 sprint or a 400 in the pool. I'm kind of in between, because 3 minutes and 30 seconds of lactic acid running through your body, pretty impressive. So those athletes were amazing to see, and the venue was really incredible. Again, a couple thousand spectators coming out to witness. And it was snowing heavily, which made it beautiful, but also really incredible to see the supporters come out. Really been very fortunate, again, to have spent some time with athletes in the different venues. Hello, President Malago. Nice to see you. I was just giving you great praise to you and your team for the incredible work that you've all been doing, and the atmosphere of the spectators that have also been making these games electric. And we cannot forget the wonderful performances. We have many teams walking away at these games. First-time medal winners with Brazil. I think that's pretty cool that the Olympic Games sort of shut down Carnival for a couple of hours for the country to celebrate Lucas. Very cool. But not just that, we have a number of countries being and becoming, and this being their most successful games, one of those being our host country, to Italy. So congratulations. Very, very cool to watch your athletes get inspired by the amazing venues and the audiences. Talking about audiences, we have record-breaking audiences on all of our broadcasting and our streamlining platforms, and I know there will be very specific, detailed figures being shared with you, but really thank you very much for sharing all of the stories. It's really cool to see all these numbers across the globe coming to light, so appreciative of that. And again, getting to witness the final few days of amazing sport. Got to watch a little bit of the ice hockey last night, got to go and present medals to the women's figure skaters, and got to have my 6-year-old with me who was just in awe of everything that was happening around her. She completely passed out as soon as we got into the car, but really that's been really fun, is getting to show these games and see it through the pureness of little kids, which is magical. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, President. Okay, we're happy to take questions from everyone except for Giovanni, obviously. Yeah, let's start with
questions for you.
Let's start with the Wakako, and then we'll come across. Yeah, in the middle here, right in the middle.
Thank you. Wakako Yuki from Yomiuri Shimbun, President. 2 questions, if I may. One, this first ever widespread games. What is your evaluation in the end? It is way forward to the future. Any things that you would like to change or modify? And some of the athletes were very happy with the atmosphere, but at the same time, it was a little bit too far to get to other venues to see each other. That's one of the things that I thought was considering. Second, these Ukrainian issue, you had hands-on experience talking to the athlete, and IPC faces another issue to come. These are one of the things that we have to face as reality. Reality of war would sometimes affect people's mind, including athletes' mind. And our message, your message, President, of peace and unity, all those things that the IOC and the Olympic Games has to keep out those political issues, may not be heard, may not be followed. What is your take on this matter, how difficult it is? And also, what is your belief as an athlete and as president, why it is still worth it? Thank you.
Thank you, Wakako. So I think firstly on your first question on the wide spread of the games, as you said, we have had, and I've had the opportunity to go to all venues across these games and villages, and the athletes are extremely happy, and they're happy because the experiences that the Miko team and my team delivered to them have been the same. So we really tried very hard, and I have to thank the Miko organizing committee for hearing from our athletes commission that the one thing that would be really important to the athletes with the concept of a widespread games was to ensure that the experiences in each of the villages would be exactly the same. And I've gone to every single village and just about all the venues, and they are exactly the same. And I spent some time with some athletes in Cortina who said they think that their experience in the opening ceremony was actually better than walking into the stadium because they got to be so close with everyone in a small city, and they got to engage, and they were sharing some of the highlights with me of seeing little kids from the windows, and they were waving and smiling, and then they got to like run down and high-five them. And you know, when you're walking into a big stadium, you don't get that close to the spectators. So they loved the fact that the team worked really hard on ensuring the experiences were going to not just be the same, but even better. So I think that's really good. And then all the other data we're collecting, we know we're going to have to look at. It's part of the evaluation process after the games, where we sit down and we look at it to say, right, what worked, what didn't work. There's going to be some things that didn't work, but really these games are truly and have been truly successful in a new way of doing things, in a sustainable way of doing things, in a way that I think many people thought maybe we couldn't do or couldn't be done well, and it's been done extremely well, and it's surpassed everyone's expectations, and that's what we need to take away from the games. And then on your second point, I think that when we look at just the pure viewership numbers that we're getting across the globe, it shows that the games can unify people and they can bring people together. And I wholeheartedly believe that we still have a huge role to play in this world to allow for that to still happen and to remind people of just what kindness looks like and courage looks like and respect looks like.
Okay, we're going to take a question. This gentleman here, then we're going to come across to New York Times. Yeah.
Hi, this is Hiroki Tora from Asahi Shimbun, a Japanese newspaper. Thank you for the question. So this is a question for President. Despite all the excitement, this is a question about online abuse. I know the IOC has been working with this issue since Paris Games with the detective system, but how concerning are you with all these hateful comments towards all the athletes, and what are the message to the athletes who are struggling with this issue? Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a safeguarding unit, and during the games we monitor all of the social media platforms so that we can see, and we try to do our best whenever we see hateful messages and messaging being posted onto any athletes or onto any of our platforms, we pull them down. And we notify people, we notify teams, we notify safeguarding officers in teams so that they can help if the athlete is potentially going through anything. Or, I think sadly in today's world, it's very easy to throw stones, especially on social media. I've experienced it. I experienced it as an athlete. It's not always nice. And I think what the IOC Athletes Commission has been focusing in on are finding ways to continue to better support and educate athletes on this, on where they can go for support, what support does that look like, and we will continue to do that.
Just to add a figure, if you'll allow me, in Paris, more than 10,000, we have an automated system, more than 10,000 abusive messages were removed. We'll get obviously figures for these games later, but you see the scale of the problem that everyone is dealing with, unfortunately. Yes, New York Times.
Hi, Kirsty.
Hello.
Yesterday in Washington, an IOC member, the FIFA president, was at something called the Board of Peace. Can I ask if you have been, and the IOC has been invited to that board, whether it is for sports federations to be part of such a thing, and what your response would be if you were invited? And if I may, this is what the Holy See has said. It said it will not participate in the Board of Peace because of its particular nature, which is evidently not that of other states. It is that at the international level, it should be the UN that manages these crisis situations. This is very important. Now, as I said, an IOC member was there, front row, red cap, USA, with the 45 and 47 denoting Donald Trump's time in office. So what is your position on this? Would you join? What do you think? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I wasn't aware that we had an IOC member front and center, as you just shared with me. So I don't really have much to say about it. Again, I think that from our position and from the IOC's point of view, we will continue to be politically neutral, and I think that is the only way for us as an organization to ensure that we allow for there to be fairness on the field of play, and that's what we're going to continue to do as we walk into the future.
Reuters there in the middle. Can we get the microphone across? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. If I can follow up on Tarek's question, given that the Olympic Charter has very clear regulations regarding what members can do in terms of politics and in terms of being associated with political activities, will you be looking into that? Will you be looking into the fact that IOC member Gianni Infantino was involved in a clearly political event and participating as such, holding up the contract he signed with the Board of Peace, with the Red Cap. Will you be looking into that? Thank you.
Well, again, I was not aware of it, so now that you guys have made us aware of it, we'll go back and of course we'll have a look into it. And as you said, the Olympic Charter is very clear on what it expects of its members, and we will go and research into the alleged signing of documents, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's the first we've actually had of it, so yeah. We'll come back to you later. Yeah. Yeah, lady at the back there, right at the back. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Question for the President. Question from CMG. I have two questions. First, this is the first Olympics for you as IOC President. Also, this is the most gender-balanced Winter Olympics in the history. So how do you evaluate these two firsts? And also, it's come to the end. What kind of unique feeling do you have? Do you want to express to us? My second question is, so this is not only the most spreaded Winter Olympics so far, and also we faced very significant climate change during the Games. What kind of lessons have we learned, and what will leave for the future Olympics to benefit? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think my first impression is it goes very quickly, and I can't believe we're already at the end. Can you believe it, Giovanni? But it's been an incredible experience, and I think we're all very proud to have gender equity playing a big role in the delivery of the Games. So that I think we can all be very proud of on that point. As I said previously, it's been a tremendous Games, and being able to watch athletes come together and share in their passion and inspire younger generations and all the spectators in the venues has really been remarkable. On the climate change and the spread of the Games, again, I think there's going to be so many good lessons learned that we can take from it, that we can then adjust and we can realign and we can move forward. And I think that is part of what every single edition of the Games allows us to do. It allows us to really look at ourselves and look at the things that we have in place and how we're then going to make certain adjustments for the future, whether it be climate, or any other factor that we need to take into consideration as an Olympic movement. So we look forward to doing that and to learning from all the incredible experiences that I think all of the stakeholders have had across these Games, across these past 2 weeks.
Okay, let's go to Graham from AP, and then we'll come across.
Thank you very much, Graham Dunbar from the AP. Going back to your keynote speech at the session at the start, you said very clearly, we are a sports organization. We understand politics exists, but we are about sports. And then events happen, and then during the Games, you come under intense personal pressure from politicians, and now Paralympics and Andrew Parsons is having some of the same of that kind of pressure. What do you now, from your first Olympic Games, what do you now better understand about all that entails to lead in an Olympic Games, and how it becomes much more than a sports event?
I think that at the end of the day, it is, and it comes down to being able to stick very truly to our principles and values. And that's what we've tried to do here. And I believe we've not just tried, but we've done it. And that is really important. I think once you start straying from the values and the principles of the Olympic movement, then you get into uncharted water, and that's not what we're here to do. We're here to ensure that we create an incredible atmosphere for athletes to live out their biggest dreams. And the athletes have shared with us their greatest moments. They've shared with us some of their greatest tragedies and losses, and they've been able to do that on a field of play that is safe and free, and we'll continue to work towards ensuring that in the future.
Okay, there's a gentleman here waiting for a long time, so let's come and we'll come back across. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ole Christian Strøm, Norwegian Broadcasting. Norway wins probably the most gold medals for the fourth consecutive time. It was 16 before the press conference started. So I wonder, can you comment on that? And is this a problem for the IOC? I mean, business-wise, because Norway is a small country, not so interesting for big worldwide companies.
So what was the question exactly? Norway winning too many medals? Oh, is it? Are you? Oh, well. I think the problem that I see is that we need to have an Olympic Games in Norway potentially, because if you're winning so many gold medals, you clearly have plenty of venues for the entire Olympic movement to benefit from. So I think that Norway has done an incredible job. You're known for Winter Games, and the Italians are hot on your heels. So let's see what the future games holds.
Okay, let's go across here to FRZ, and then we'll come across here, and then we'll, yeah.
Christoph Becker, Frankfurt Allgemeine Zeitung. Well, the games have been followed quite closely in Germany as well, as the German NOC is in continuous dialogue with the IOC about hosting future Olympic Games. And so far, one option might have been the 2036 Games. Now, yesterday, the German president, head of state, let it be known that he's not in favor of bidding for those games because he cites, well, historical problems dating back 100 years to the 1936 Games. Do you have an opinion on that? I mean, we had the discussion here about the T-shirts that were being sold in the Olympics shop. I believe the link has been taken down, so those cannot be bought anymore, which seems to indicate that there is a historic problem. So, yeah, what's your opinion? Thank you.
Frankly, and I'm looking at my team because I was not aware that Germany had made any comments in and around 2036. So I don't really have an opinion on it.
We can take a look at it and come back to you, but obviously we try to monitor most global press, but I hadn't seen that, so we'll try to come back to you. Okay, let's do Juliet McCurr there and Takafumi, and then we'll, yeah.
Hi, Juliet McCurr at the New York Times. Hi, Kirsty.
Hi.
This question is for you. We reported today that a known whistleblower informed WADA weeks ago that the current chair of the Russian anti-doping agency was directly involved with the widespread doping, surrounding the Sochi Games. And we have information that the IOC was aware of this, and I'm wondering if it's a big concern for you or the IOC as Russia is being welcomed back to the Olympic and the Paralympic fold.
Okay. I'm really looking at my team, and maybe someone needs to be dismissed because I'm not aware of that either. So,
I hadn't heard it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would be very interested to find out more about it. So if you could share it directly with me, because that would be very important information and knowledge.
Takafumi, over here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it's on the New York Times, again, I'm looking at my team to be like, what happened, guys? Where are we? But no, I am not aware of that. But maybe we can have a conversation, and my chief of staff is sitting up here in the front. Be nice to have a conversation right after this outside. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Hello, this is Takafumi Yoshida from Japanese news agency Kyodo News. I have a question to President.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry. As you know, including the AIN and more than 90 countries have taken part in this Olympic Games. And do you think this edition has been a peaceful competition? And if you think it was peaceful, do you share us some example if you have something?
Of peaceful competition, I think you have to look at all the competitions, and at the end of every single competition, look how the athletes are embracing each other. It's incredible. You know, you look at any single competition I've been to, whether it's biathlon, bobsled, skeleton, whether it is the figure skating last night, the ice hockey, the athletes all go over and hug each other and they high five. And, you know, last night it was just the sweetest thing to watch the last figure skater, the Japanese figure skater, sit and she's waiting for her scores, I think we all realized she had came third before she realized it. And then she realized it and she looked over to Alyssa, who had won gold, and she was like, third? Like she was trying, you know, and they ran up and hugged. And that is the best thing, right? They have so much respect for each other. They're inspired by each other's performances. And whether that for me is the greatest sign of everything, of peace, of unity, of respect. They choose to respect each other. Doesn't matter where they come from. Like, that has been, you have seen that on every single field of play across these games. And I think that is truly just incredible. It's why we're all sitting here. It's why we have thousands of people, thousands of volunteers, thousands of staff in the MECO on the IOC team, thousands of broadcasters sharing these stories, these images. It's what it reminds us, hopefully, to be better humans, right? Like, if you don't want to walk away from watching that and be like, I'm going to be a better person, then then maybe we need to think about what, you know, choices we're making. Because I don't think you can not watch that and not want to walk away being inspired by what they're showcasing for us.
Yeah, gentleman right here, Australian colleague, and then we'll go to Reuters and then come across. Yeah.
Oh, your question for Kirsty. Jake Nile from the Age in Melbourne and the Sydney Morning Herald in Australia. Just, you've talked a lot about Olympic ideals, and one famed story that caught a lot of attention, of course, over many decades is the Jamaican bobsled team. When we look at the bobsled teams events in 2s and 4s, we see arguably something that deviates from those ideals in that technology plays a huge role, it seems, in the results. And I look at, and this is no disrespect to the Germans who are outstanding, but they have dominated that event, and it's no secret that there's a huge spending gap and technological gap in that sport. So I would just ask you broadly, first in the bobsled, where there has this romantic past and a present that's quite different, and also as a broad principle of technology driving outcomes in an event that purports to have a level playing field.
Well, I think this is where I think technology can help us. I think that there's huge opportunity for the Olympic movement and sports movement globally to embrace technology in so many different ways that are going to be allowed to close that gap that we see, right? And I think this is also the work of my Olympic sport program working group, where they're looking at all of the different sports on our programs to say, how are we actually looking, whether it be global, what does that look like? Are we being fair? Is it accessible? Are these sports accessible to everybody? What does that look like? Because there is a big part of us that has to allow for that to happen. So these are all the evaluations that are ongoing. I know that some international federations are a little nervous about this process, and at some point we are going to go back to them and talk to them. But I do think that as a movement we have to be able to really better understand the sports in which the environment they're playing and living today. And part of what you've just shared with us is some of that context that we are looking into to see how can we develop sports, how can we make them more accessible, and how can we level out that playing field. I do think technology is going to be able to help, but there also needs to be a sort of strategic way forward on how we're going to implement that and what that's going to look like. And this is the work, or some of the work that we're trying to do now.
Okay, there was a question from Reuters at the back there. Gentleman with his hand up. 3 or 4 more questions, I think, probably.
Thank you, Kirsty. Ian Axon from Reuters. I just wonder what your response is to the IPC's decision to allow Russian and Belarusians to compete under their own flag, and will the IOC follow suit?
Okay, so the IPC, as you guys all know, completely separate organization, so we were not a part of any of those discussions. And for right now, we're focusing on the last 3 days of Milano-Cortina and really enjoying these last few moments. There's not been any future discussions discussed at this point.
Yeah, gentleman here in the front. Yeah, and
Hello, everybody. Hello, Mrs. President. I'm Frédéric from sportguide.com, and my question will be in French, my language and the Olympic language. Il y aura lundi, les prochains Jeux Olympiques d'hiver auront lieu en France, et il y aura lundi une grande cérémonie au pied des Alpes, avec vraisemblablement le Premier ministre pour le retour du drapeau. Quelle sera la représentation du Comité international olympique pour cette grande journée, et y aura-t-il des réunions de programmées entre le comité d'organisation des Alpes et le CIO à ce moment-là? Merci à vous.
Thank you. I'm assuming during the closing ceremony, I can't discuss any of that. I'm not sure if you want to discuss that. I can't disclose anything, but I know the closing ceremony is going to be wonderful. And in terms of the flag hand to hand over, the specific traditional flag, I think Christophe has a few more details, but it's going to be fabulous. And we're very much looking forward to the French Alps 2013.
President, certainly not on the transmission of flag, mais je crois que ce à quoi vous faites référence, c'est la cérémonie du lendemain à Albertville. Alors bien sûr que le CIO sera représenté au travers des membres français du CIO qui portent haut les couleurs comme vous le savez, donc ils seront là bien entendu. Le moment est symbolique puisqu'on ramène le drapeau à Albertville, les Jeux de 92, donc au-delà de la transmission à Vérone dimanche, ça sera symboliquement très fort parce qu'effectivement c'est le point de départ de ces Jeux dans les Alpes, du nord jusqu'au sud, jusqu'à la Méditerranée. Donc évidemment c'est un grand moment pour le sport français. Quant à nous, et je crois que c'est tout aussi important, on a là les équipes du comité d'organisation au premier rang avec Giovanni Malago et on doit les remercier. Et vous savez, le lundi, suivant les Jeux Olympiques, il y a une tradition, c'est qu'on remercie le pays hôte et toutes les personnes qui ont œuvré, de la présidence d'un COJO, un volontaire qui est dans un parking, et c'est ce que la présidente et toute l'équipe fera le lundi, remercier un système qui a été remarquable. Et les Français seront représentés encore une fois par les membres du CIO.
Valentina Fas, Sky Sport. Well, as a very proud Italian, Italy is doing very well at these Olympics, clearly feeling a home effect. I was wondering if there's been talks, I'm sure there have, about the legacy that these Olympics will leave here in Italy for future generations. And my other question was linked a bit to what you said before. You were an athlete yourself. You started working in the IOC before becoming a president. How much is politics in some ways taking over more of your time rather than having to deal with the organization of events and thinking about the athletes?
I should just say, by the way, we had a whole press conference yesterday on legacy, and we talked extensively about legacy, so we can give you all the details.
Thank you. No, thank you. And as you said, I think, Mark, we can share more of the legacy, the specifics. But one of the things that I think these games have truly allowed for there to be legacy is not just the home team doing extremely, extremely well, which is exciting because you get to see the true passion of all of Italy. And I think that these athletes, whether they've won a medal or not, the Italian team are going to be inspirational heroes to so many people around the country and around the world. And that in of itself is a very strong legacy because they've just inspired another Olympian that in 20 years' time are going to be able to say the games were at home in Italy and inspired me, and I'm now doing this because of that, right? We will hear those stories. But then I want to share when I was in Livigno, we went to Casa Italia, which is and was beautiful, but also the training center there. The support from the mayor in terms of the legacy in and around the venues in Cortina are just incredible, really. The focus on the community and the focus on how these venues are going to add value to community living and lifestyle was the sole driving part that he spoke about, right? He spoke about how young kids are going to be learning to go down the sliding track on whatever, on luge, skeleton, bobsleigh, and how that his community, one of the youngest communities, if I'm understanding correctly, in Italy, are going to have, and how that for them is, they're so proud of that. It was incredible to see a community leader talking about the impact that he already is seeing, and that I think is very exciting. And that was witnessed everywhere, in Bormio as well, with the mayor and the ski mountaineering venue. And I think the one thing is I spent some time in Livigno. We went all the way up to the top of the half pipe, and I was very fortunate to get to do that. And the team were so proud because they now know that they can deliver these venues, and they have all of the equipment to do it. And they were already talking to the International Federation presidents to say, when can you come back and when can we hold a World Cup? And can this now become a yearly World Cup stop? That is something you really have to be so proud of doing. And a lot of these venues are going to open up new opportunities for athletes and for sports that Italy hadn't yet won a medal in, which I don't know if there's really many, but it is showcasing that you have that capacity, you have that ability, and you have that ability from grassroots, right? The people that were running the venues in Livigno are born and raised and live in Livigno, and they raise their families there, so they have an invested interest into this. And this is the legacy that we're seeing, and this is a legacy that is going to allow for Italy to continually be very high up on the medals, and maybe one day give Norway a little run for your money.
Okay, going to take one or two more questions if there are any. No, I think we're... Oh, yeah, no, yeah, that was the final question here. Then let's just go for across here.
Yeah. Question for the President, Robert Kemper, German TV. Ms. Coventry, a couple of days ago, the Russian sport minister, who is at the same time the president of the NOC, was quoted in an EBU interview that, or he requested again that Russian athletes should come back to world stage, and that he came up with the idea of suing the IOC maybe for financial compensation because of their supporting athletes all over the years. What is your position on that, the IOC's position on that, and how do you assess or evaluate these quotes or these threats coming from Russia in an ongoing discussion if there might be a way back for Russia, for Russian athletes on world stage?
Well, right now there's not been any discussions on that matter. So for now we're focusing purely on Milano-Cortina in the last couple of days. So as and when we look at having those conversations, we'll look at everything. But right now there's nothing planned for the near future.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. As the President said, we will be concentrating in the last few days. Hope you can manage to see some sport. Thank you very much, and thanks, Christoph, as well. Thank you, President.
Thank you.